So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to build a tweet bot, which is going to be a tool that you can actually use that will allow you to create different tweets with different voices. Say you want to create a tweet about X, Y, and Z in the voice of a professional voice, or funny, or just neutral, then you can just input the text and then create tweets, right, with hashtags and everything, and then post those. This tool is going to leverage LangChain, which is a really good framework that allows you to use different large language models into one and abstracts out all of the things that you usually have to do in order to make things actually work. So it's a really powerful framework, and if you want to learn more about LangChain, let me know so I can create another video where I go into details about LangChain. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look. So you see here I have a project that I created already. It has the environment already set up, so make sure you do that. And I have these requirements.txt. This is where we're going to put all of the packages that we need. So we need OpenAI, of course. This is important because we're going to leverage OpenAI API to be able to create, in this case, those tweets. Streamlit, this is going to be for the front end, so we can easily create a nice front end. Okay, and LangChain, that is the framework I'm talking about, which allows us to do all sort of things. Mainly in this case, we're going to use it as a wrapper to OpenAI, so we have a little bit more leverage as developers to do certain things like chaining and all that great stuff. And of course, python.env for our environment variables and load them up. Make sure that also you have the .env. So in this case, you have to go to OpenAI, have an account, of course, and get the OpenAI API key and add it here. So now inside of our app.py, it's empty. But first thing I need to do here is to actually make sure first that our environment is active. Okay, which you can just say source and then go to env. I think that's v env like that, and then go to bin, activate like this, and hit enter, and you should be ready to go. Okay, so the first thing we'll do here is I'm going to say pip install and -r and go to requirements.txt. Now I know that I don't have enough space here, but that's what happens. Hit enter, and so what will happen here is going to go ahead and download everything that we need. You can see in our v. So in our bin, we're going to have all of the things that are being installed, downloaded, so we are able to get this to work. Okay, very good. So we have, in this case, .env, and we should have Streamlit and OpenAI. Okay, make sure you do that so we are ready. Okay, now let's go to our app.py, and we're going to get started by, first of all, let's go ahead and import OS and do some imports here. So I'm going to also import the .env, find.env, and load.env. Okay, let's go ahead and import OpenAI. And now I'm going to also import the chat OpenAI, which is going to be a wrapper to the OpenAI library. So let's say from LangChain, you should have access to this namespace. And I'm going to go to chat because that's what we're going to use, models. And I'm going to import, in this case, chat OpenAI. Let's go ahead and do all the loading that we need to do. I'm just going to go ahead and have the code just so we save time. So here I'm loading all the .env files, everything, and I'm setting up the OpenAI API key, passing the OpenAI API key as such. So, all right, so before I forget, let me go ahead and import also, because we're going to be using this. We're going to import Streamlit as st, because we're going to use that to create our user interface. Now that we have all of the imports that we need, let's go ahead and first of all, I'm going to just create a simple, because this is going to be straight a Streamlit application. Let's go ahead and put together the user interface real quick. At least the basics. So I'm going to st, and I'm going to add a title, call this tweet generator. I'm going to add also a header. So this is like writing HTML really, which is really nice. So generate your next tweet with tweetbot. That's what I end up calling it. Okay, I'm going to also create a text here, just tells users what to expect. I'm just going to go ahead and say, first when I describe your tweet, let's say, or copy and paste existing one. And then I'm going to create a field so that we can get that information. So to get a field, I'm going to put that inside of a prompt, because that's going to be a prompt. We're going to be feeding it into the LangChain and of course down to OpenAI. So I'm going to use again our Streamlit text area, and I'm going to put anything here, and I can also adjust the height for this text area to be about 14. Okay, I'm going to also create another text here. I go select your voice. So this is going to allow users to select if they want the voice in which this is going to be written as, if it's funny or professional or whatever else. So I'm going to put that in a variable called voice options, and I'm going to use Streamlit multiple select. So we have this drop down on menu, and for that I'm going to have to pass a label which is going to be empty. I'm just going to leave it empty, and I'm going to add options here, and it's going to be an array or list, and the first one is going to be casual, and then I'm going to be professional, and let's put here funny. Okay, as you'll see in a second here, in a little bit, all of these are going to be, so users are going to be able to tap and then see all of this. In fact, let's go ahead and run this real quick so we can see if this works. Now, I'm going to say Streamlit run after apply. Okay, and just like that, we can see we have tweet generator, we have the fields which we're going to be using, and the great thing is we have the select your voice, and allows you to go ahead and click here and you can select whatever you select. And the good thing about Streamlit, as you can see here, it's really simple. We didn't do a lot of work, and we have all of this. So each time we select something, it's all added there. You can remove as well. So all this functionality was just given to us just like this. So it's pretty cool. Right, let's go back to code here. I'm going to go ahead and close this down, let that running. The next thing we need to do here is we need to go ahead and start putting together the actual backend, the actual functionality that will allow us to do what we need to do. So essentially, be able to take the prompt, because this is going to be the prompt that users are adding here. Let's say a tweet like, oh, I worked really hard today, and so I select the voice. Could be professional, funny, or casual, and then of course we're gonna have a button here that will go ahead and generate those awesome tweets up here. So here I'm going to create a large language model. So this is the model we're going to be using in this case for our application, for our project. So I'm going to just put inside of an LLM. You could name whatever you want. It could be just a model, but that's the same thing. And I'm going to use Chat OpenAI. This comes from LangChain, is a wrapper for Chat OpenAI. And then here I can pass the temperature. Now the temperature is what is going to gauge the model to be very creative or very specific. So in this case, we want it to be very creative. So the larger the number, in this case, I'm going to put 0.9. So this is going to be very creative. Okay, so the larger number, the more creative our model is going to be. Next, what we'll do is we are going to, of course, pull in this information here. So this is what's going to be the actual prompt. The cool thing about LangChain is that it has these wrappers, these classes, these objects that really help us developers to do things faster. For instance, we understand that all of these large language models, they require or they need a prompt, right? But when we create a prompt, we want to be able to pass in certain metadata, right? So what we have here, we have what we call a prompt template. The prompt template is really cool because it allows us to create a prompt in a wrapper, as we will see in a second here. But most importantly, also will allow us to add the actual template we want to push onto the large language model to do what it needs to do, as well as certain pieces of data, just like variables that we can attach to them. So what I'm saying here is as follows. First of all, for us to be able to do that, let's go ahead and import a few things here. So we're going to go ahead and get the prompts from prompt template. Okay, so first I'm going to create the first prompt here. So I'm going to say prompt, and I'm going to set up, of course, to go and for the prompt template to create the actual prompt. First thing, I'm going to pass what we call the input variables. So the input variables are going to be the pieces of data that we are going to inject into the LLM once we pass through. Okay, so we'll see in a second here. I'm going to pass in as a description, right? So this is going to be, which is going to be this prompt here that we are going to be passing in. All right, and the other one we're going to pass is going to be the voice, or let's call this option because that's what we call it. All right. And we're going to pass, of course, the actual template. In this case would be something like I am option description, but we have a better template here. So this is what is going to be passed along to the large language model to get the actual information. And I already have that, so I'm not going to bore you. Okay, so as you can see, write me a very, you pass the option. So this could be funny, casual, or professional, right? In the drop down. And it's going to be replaced with what we are going to be passing once we invoke this prompt template to be passed on into our large language model, LLM. And we pass, of course, the actual description, which is going to be, in this case, whatever we put inside of our text area. All right. So let's go ahead and continue here. So next we are going to then create the actual chain, because we have the prompt and we have the large language model. So we're going to put all them together so we can invoke and get the results or the response we want. So I'm going to say this tweet, and I'm going to use this very awesome syntax, which is very simple. It's a new one. So I'm going to just say prompt, right? And I'm going to put pipe and pass the large language model. So what this does is that we're combining the prompt here and the large language model so that they can run together to, in this case, get the result. That means then we're going to go ahead and put a button here at the bottom. So I'm going to say if st that button. So this is what we're going to be doing, and I'm going to go ahead and just pass what we have here. So if indeed the button, which we're going to name generate tweet, I'm going to go ahead and say tweet instead of generate. Of course, this is not what we want. It's going to be invoke. I'm going to call the invoke function and pass in the description, which is going to be the prompt that we have passed here. Now, because we do have a lot of prompts laying around, I'm going to change this to description. I think it's going to be better. And let's copy that and pass in as in the actual description there. And voice options. That's totally fine. And to make this even more robust, we're going to say and description. I'm going to say also and voice option, just to make sure that if these are not empty, then we're going to be able to invoke on click, able to get to invoke our tweet, which we pass in the prompt along with the large language model. And once we get that tweet, it's going to be an object. So I'm going to go ahead and say, actually before that, let's go ahead and say print and pass in our tweet just to see what we see. I'm going to go ahead and comment that out. And let's see what else we need to do. That's really about it. We can go ahead and test this. Now, to test this, to run this, all we need to do, make sure that your environment is set up. All right, so this is a Streamlit. I'm going to say Streamlit, run, and something like this. And we should see hopefully something happening. Okay, so we have our very nicely done user interface here. We can go ahead and say, hello world. Is this real? I'm going to go ahead and choose an option funny and just go ahead and generate. Oh, looks like we have an issue here. Description. Right. So when I call invoke, these have to be like this, and options is going to be like that. And of course, we have to pass all of these as dictionary. So which means we're going to put inside of curly braces. Let's go ahead and go like that and delete all of this. So, all right. Save this. So you can see I have to pass as an object or a dictionary, pass the description, which is going to be description, and then options going to be voice options. Remember, all of these are coming from what we set up earlier here, which are just fields. Go ahead and open again here. Let's go ahead and rerun this. Okay, let's give it a try. You can say, I was looking for a joke today. And let's go ahead and say, okay, well, funny, that works, and run. After a few moments, let's see. Yes, we can see that indeed everything went well. And we have these warning here. These all come from, in this case I'm going to show you, come from these places that we've put labels that are empty. Okay, I'm just going to say select, so that we don't get those warnings. Okay, now that we know this should be working, I'm going to go ahead and let's go ahead and write that tweet out. And because I know, if you look at our tweet here, but you can see that it comes in, we have this content and then we have the actual tweet. So we can probe in and parse through and get the content field, hopefully. Let's go ahead and take a look. You can just say tweet, content as such. Let's go ahead and say always run, so that everything goes back to running. It's professional this time. Let's generate. If all goes well, we should see a tweet here. Very cool. I love it. It looks very nice. We have today, while I need of a lighthearted break, I found myself, blah, blah, blah. And it even gives us all of these, the hashtags as well as emojis. So pretty cool. Now to make this even better, I'm just going to say actually info to see the difference in this case of markup that shows up here. Okay, so if I go ahead and retweet again, generate tweet, you can see now we have this very nice background. So something cool. So what we'll do next is, because we want to be able to generate 2 tweets, for instance, and it's real simple. Now what we can do is just go ahead and create, in this case, I'm going to just create this prompt 2 like that. So essentially I can create another template here. I'm just going to paste what I already have, so I don't waste time. So I can say write me another different and vary, and pass still the same thing, pass the option, right, as input variable, and the description. And we can add more things if you want. So this is just for us to use here and create yet another tweet. So I can say tweet 2 and just pass the prompt 2 and always pass the large language model between the pipe. So tweet 2, and I'm going to go ahead and invoke that, and we should be good. So the same thing we pass in tweet 2, invoke, pass in description, which in this case is going to get the prompt 2 template. Okay, very good. And if I want, I can also say st, add a divider here in between, and then say st.info again, and pass tweet 2 and get the content. Just like that. Let's go ahead and test it out. Because I made sure that this always rerun when we save something, I can go ahead and just change this to funny, for instance. And let's go and generate. We should hopefully see 2 tweets that are happening here. All right, so we have 2 tweets. Today I went looking for a joke. Turns out I am the living punchline. Okay, I was looking for a joke today, but my internet connection seems to think I need more dad jokes. There we go. So this looks great, and you can add something else here. Hello world, is this real? Okay, and I can also delete that, and let's say I want professional and funny. Just generate and see. Okay, so there we go. We have hello world, and greetings fellow inhabitant of cyberspace. Can't help but wonder, am I trapped in a digital matrix? So there you have it. So you can see that you can use this as a starting point for building any other kind of AI-based application. Now you can extend this to do more things, but one of the things I would add here is a button here when they click to copy the tweets or the tweet, right? Whichever you want. And that way it's just easier for people to click and then get the tweet. Hope you found value in this. I'm so happy that you're here. This is your first time. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button because that will help me a lot. And let's see what else. Well, nothing else really. Be well, and I'll see you next time.